Warning, warning, Wii U. If you're a big fan of RWBY and don't want to listen to people being rude about the show, you probably won't enjoy this podcast. Please don't make yourself suffer. You've been warned.
Some roses will never bloom.
Mostly, Velvet knew who she didn't want to be paired with. At the top of her list was the tall dude from Mistral. Less than a day, and Velvet had already been bullied by some of the upperclassmen at Beacon for being a faunus, and of course her tormentors were from Mistral. Velvet loved her ears, which only made it worse when people called her Bunny Girl, or made those awful jokes she'd heard hundreds of times before, from the harmless but hurtful hop to it jabs to the squicky comments that made her feel threatened. The boys who joked about hunting rabbits or asked if she could teach them multiplication. Ugh. The big kid hadn't said anything like that to her yet, but his people didn't like Faunus and didn't mind letting them know how they felt. Thinking about working with him for 4 years, Velvet didn't want a partner at all. So it turns out that Velvet and Yasuhasi's relationship is built upon her learning to not be reverse racist.
Right, okay. So hang on, are they trying to argue here that Velvet's feelings about humans are not completely justified?
No, it's specifically Mistralians. She's racist against Mistralians because in everything except for the actual fucking show, Mistral is supposed to be the most racist country.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Okay, so she has to learn to not hate Mistralians who are often racist towards her.
Yeah.
Wow.
She has to learn to look beyond skin color.
Yeah, that's an important thing for the racial minority stand-in to learn. Gosh.
It's so funny that they're supposed to be the most racist country. Like, think about in the show, you know, like their headmaster was a faunus, and then you go to Atlas and the faunus are in the fucking ghetto.
Yeah, well, you know, Ruby law.
And I also feel like the teaching them about multiplication thing, I was like, Jesus, racist sex jokes. I wasn't expecting that in this book. That seems like a bit much.
This book is fucking cursed.
There's a lot going on here.
I often think about, like, with Mistral and Haven in general, it really does feel like you never got a good sense of the nation. Like, we hung out at the school, and that's kind of it. Like, you didn't get to see outside much. We barely saw any students.
Hey, they walked through that whole fucking countryside of China, Japan. That was all Mistral.
Oh, was it? No.
And Mistral is also the Wild West, and it's also that San Francisco place that Pyrrha is from, which is also the funny aspect of her being like, oh, I could immediately peg him as a Mistralian visually. It's like, why? Because he looks like a China-Japan man? I thought Mr. wasn't just China-Japan. Which is it?
One sake, please.
No. Anyways, that's not what's important. What's important is this stupid-ass episode. Let's fucking talk about it, I guess.
Yeah, so this is Ruby Slushy. I'm Fiend.
Oh, and I'm Cube. Hi.
You probably already knew that, but anyway.
So how do you feel in general about this episode?
I'm sort of conflicted because this is a bad episode. We have a fight, but the fight's a bit shit. There's a lot of broken logic and plot holes.
I mean, I feel like it at least makes more sense than the other two episodes.
Yeah, it's like...
Kind of, mostly.
It manages moments of competence, which is, you know, that shouldn't be the benchmark, but that is like... compared to what we've had, it's like... Some of the parts are real stupid, but man... At least one character gets like a halfway decent character moment. Like, not a particularly interesting one, but it makes sense.
Yeah, I will say, like, I actually have positive things to point out this episode, which was very thin and far between in the other two.
Yes. I think that's definitely true. I do think it's worth pointing out, first of all, quick Cube Penny Bingo update. The episode is called Strings, and why is it called Strings?
I don't know. Does it count for No Strings on Me if it's just about her having strings and that being relevant?
I feel like they're alluding to her puppet strings as well, because someone's going to be pulling her strings, because like we just see Watts is going to hack her. We have confirmation that he's currently trying to do that right now.
I can't believe it. I never saw this reveal coming. When they revealed it at the end of this episode, I was like, what?
Well, I mean, technically they revealed it earlier than that. At least that he's trying to do it.
No, that's the thing. Okay, wait, we got to get into it.
Okay, should we start from the start, or?
Yeah! We gotta come out of the tube. Blah. Nora is being unpleasantly animaniacs, and I hate it. I hate when they try to do this kind of animation.
Yeah, like Weiss is pulling her ear. It's funny because like we just hear someone going ow, 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 and at first I thought that was Weiss just complaining about her now broken back, but no. It's Weiss pulling Nora's ear and Nora going, "What? It was just a joke," you know. Sort of. You know.
Yeah, which is theoretically fun enough, but the way that Nora's animated is trying too hard to be like 2D cartoony, low frame rate, and it just ends up being very uncanny, and I'm just like, ugh.
It's a funny thing with her because, like, so okay, Nora's the character who gets the halfway decent character moment this episode, but the rest of the episode, she's very sort of, mischievous cartoon Nora mode, which, I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird that this episode is so Nora-centric, or I guess it's like half Nora, half Penny.
This last season and a half, in terms of, like, the main two teams, Nora and Ren are the ones who have gotten the most focus. And I don't get it.
Yeah.
Why do we care about Nora? Why do we care about Ren? I just don't.
But yeah, it's like this episode suddenly is like, actually, here's Nora's end of this equation. And it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. It's too bad we haven't fucking seen any of that so far.
Yeah, and also, like, I'd like a bit more of Ruby or Yang or Blake's.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I feel like Blake's end of the whole Atlas situation, she's got a lot of catching up to do.
But I will say, Blake, she's really cute this episode. Whoever was doing some of the character animation on her is cute. Like when she comes out of the tube at the beginning, her hair is all like kind of messed up and it looks like she has actual hair. And like there's a lot of little moments in this episode where her ears are moving like cat ears. And I was like, wow.
For some reason, they're giving all the sassy lines to Blake at the moment, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, so here's the thing. This episode's written by Kiersey, like most of the first episode. And so there's definitely a few, that's that kind of thing we saw last season where when you go from one writer to another writer, it's like, wait, what happened there? Why is this character here now emotionally? Because May has a different thrust this episode where she's rude and an asshole and the characters don't like her, which is very strange after last episode where she was just being friendly and they were all cool with her.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's not too bad. Like, I didn't think you take her so much as an asshole, as just sort of brusque, I guess.
I don't know. I think calling Penny Robo Girl is rude, and Penny calls it out as being rude. And then when she shows them something, Ruby looks at her like, "Ha, bitch." And I'm like, why is she an asshole now?
Yeah, fair. Okay, that's fair enough.
It's also very strange for the trans character to not respect calling someone by their name. Because when Penny's like, "My name's Penny," she's like, "Shh, I don't want to call you by your name." It's like, why?
Yeah, it's a good point. So this episode is entirely focused on the stealth mission. If you were thinking we were going to find out what was going on with Oscar, this episode, sorry, we're not touching on that at all.
But I'm fine with that, to be honest. Like, especially with all this jumping around that they're doing between writers that can't keep continuity between them. It's good that they're like focusing on single scenarios for the individual episodes.
Again, the unfortunate standards of RWBY, where it's like, I'm glad they're not attempting to do too much.
Yes.
Even with this being a stealth thing, I understand the whole idea is that like May can make an invisible field, so they can just walk around and not see anyone. There's several parts of this stealth mission though that just feel half-baked.
There's a lot that's clearly like something was lost between the script vision of it and the animatic and the animation with how everything plays out. It's very, I don't think this is what you meant it to be.
I will say there is some fun Penny stuff this episode. Like the bit where they ask Penny where they need to go and she does a very matter-of-fact left, right, left, 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 up, down, up, left, like sort of explanation. Was sort of cute.
I hated the animation during that.
Oh, I didn't mind the gag.
Because it was like the Nora thing where it's like that weird kind of like super stiff limited animation, but it, like every frame looks so bad that I think that's part of why it doesn't work to me.
I didn't mind it so much.
That's cool. You're allowed. We're gonna fight. Because like I gotta say, her hair this entire episode, especially because there's a lot of like weird rendering this episode where it felt like they weren't able to quite spend as much time trying to get the lighting right and stuff. Her hair is so distractingly bad. It's so much.
What's funny is that like there's a bit when Watts is trying to hack her where there's a rotating, wireframe model of Penny in a T-pose, which is obviously just an asset. But like in that wireframe, you can see how much detail there actually is in that hair. And it's like, if I could just see that rather than it just being one blob, that wouldn't be so bad.
If the curls were just always there and it wasn't like constantly shaded like this weird gray object. It's so bad.
The other little Penny moment I liked as well was she has a little like a USB stick in her finger. So one of her fingertips pops off and there's a stick there. And Ruby sees that and goes, cool. And I was just like, see? There's some nice nuts and bolts action. Getting back to the old days when Ruby just liked Penny because she likes weapons and Penny was a cool weapon. And Ruby's just like, yeah, you're rad.
You can't skip past the elevator scene because, like, they keep kind of going back and forth. It feels like on whether people can hear them when they're in May's invisibility bubble. Because when two other people walk into the elevator while they're there, she's like, shh. But then later they're just fucking standing around in a hallway talking about their plan at full volume. So it's like, shrug.
I do like the conversation between the two guards too, where they're like, it's so creepy how Salem and that whole horde are just there waiting. What are they waiting for? And it's like, yeah, that's a fucking good question.
They're waiting for the end of the season.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, so the major problem with this episode is there's a lot of like plot convenient timing. And Salem just not attacking. The longer we go on, the more it feels like just plot convenient timing. Like, she's just not attacking, so the rest of the team have some time to do some other stupid bullshit that won't matter.
Yeah, like literally, what is she waiting for?
Yeah. I'm sure it's meant to be like a mystery. Like, oh, what is she waiting for? What's going to happen? If it has a satisfying resolution, I'll be fucking amazed.
Yeah, because again, we're so used to her just constantly doing nothing and not having any reason other than apparently it just seems like she's lazy. And we've never learned what she wants and she never bothers. So, like, of course she just got here and she's still fucking not doing anything. That's not mysterious.
Yeah, that's just what she does.
That's her MO. Yeah.
She spent thousands of years sitting in a fucking cabin.
Yeah. But I do like when they're about to leave the elevator and she trolls the guards in there by hitting all the buttons. Nora does, and I'm like, I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah, this was mischievous Nora. Like again, she breaks the rules a bit, where she sort of giggles and they don't notice. But yeah, I don't know. It's her trollishness over the start of this sequence, including the bit at the end of the last episode, has been okay. There's been some good gags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, Penny does the hack into this terminal thing. And what's hilarious is, one, I love that it has some kind of like port for her finger to conveniently hack into the terminal, but as a cartoon thing. But she hacks into it such that it thinks that she's Dr. Paulindina.
Yes.
The Atlas's most wanted criminal, Dr. Paulindina. That's fine.
Yeah. Somehow his credentials just continue to work. This is the trouble with the stealth mission, is that they have someone who has a convenient semblance so no one can see them. And the Atlas security are just stupid enough to not revoke the security credentials of a person who is on their most wanted list.
Yeah, and it's like she's hacked it. It very easily could have just been her putting in a random person's credentials.
Yeah, why did she... Oh, fucking...
Because she hacked it and then it showed a palm print. And so it's just very silly.
Yeah, it is. And later on, the person who warns Ironwood that apparently Dr. Polendina is wandering around the place, or at least someone using his credentials, is Watts. So it isn't even Atlas Security who pick up on this.
Yeah, he just happens to notice.
Yeah.
And I guess they don't have any security cameras or anything that they can... Because it's like... You would notice if Dr. Polendina was walking around your facility. He's a man in a giant spider chair.
I mean, I also like that, we do get an explanation for why Atlas Security didn't notice, because when we do finally get to see Atlas Security in action, they are cartoonishly incompetent, but, that's the later scene.
Are you talking about Central Command?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the door that opens, and it's like, oh, Central Command. And I realize because of the dialogue and stuff that it's supposed to be much more bustling than it is.
Well, there's a lot of people there, but... It's not a very big room. There's not that many people walking around.
Yeah, like it's a decently spacious room, and there's like 4 people walking around, and May's like, I can't maneuver us through all that, and she just like throws her hands up. This is impossible. But it's like you very clearly could.
Yeah, it's this thing of this season in general feeling a bit cheap and underdone. It's just everything just feels a bit off. We don't know whether or not this is the case, but I do wonder if the coronavirus did impact how much time they had to actually produce this thing. It really does feel not finished, or at least certainly not as like polished as it needed to be in places. Like corners were cut.
Yeah.
It seems like.
And as always with that, like, I would mostly blame the producers and like anyone in charge of that kind of thing, because obviously they needed more time or they need better QA or whatnot. I wouldn't put that on the animators because I'm sure they've all been working under ridiculous demands.
Oh, of course, yeah. Like either you needed to adjust things down in scripting, or everyone was just sort of happy for it to be a bit compromised. I mean, look, it is RWBY after all.
Yeah, or you could delay it a bit.
Yeah,
that's what I would have preferred.
Now, this scene, May says, I can't maneuver you all through all that, so we need a way to get through there quickly. And Penny stops to give us a little lesson on RWBY semblance. So, RWBY semblance, for those of you who don't remember, is RWBY turns into a weird red petal-looking comet thing that just kind of shoots around, leaving petals behind. And, well, what does Penny have to say about all this?
When RWBY do that, she deconstructs herself on a molecular level, and that means that she can do it to everyone together because mass is irrelevant. That's science, and if you think that's not science, you're dumb. You're the stupid. It's science for sure.
So the exact line is, RWBY breaks herself down to her molecular components, thus negating her mass. And then she can do this to all of us because mass is irrelevant. I know this is a nitpick. But the bit that I keep catching on is that she breaks herself down to her molecular components, thus negating her mass. Molecules have mass. You guys are thinking of energy. If she converted herself to energy, she wouldn't have mass. Or like a lot less mass.
And also, okay, if mass is completely irrelevant, excellent. RWBY, go ahead and just pull all of Atlas into your semblance. Let's just do this. Mass is irrelevant. It'd be great. It just becomes a giant, big-ass flying pedal ball, and they just go to vacuo. Let's start the next season.
Also, if that's, like I said, if she's broken herself down to her molecular components, what are those petals coming off? Are they just like bits of RWBY?
Don't. You can't.
This is the trouble with trying to make it scientific as opposed to just magic.
Yeah.
If it's just magic, she can just do it, and she can take people with her if she concentrates or whatever. But if you try to make it science...
Yeah, and then it's like, wow, how did Mercury kick her out of it in Volume 3? I guess he's able to kick individuals, massless, separated molecules. I thought he didn't have a semblance.
The other bit about this that is odd...
Oh my fucking god.
...is that RWBY didn't realise she could take other people with her. Now, or at least, it's phrased very awkwardly. Because what Penny's sort of saying is that RWBY could take the entire team with her. But the way RWBY reacts to it, it seems like RWBY didn't know she could take anyone with her, even though she's done that twice, at least, over the course of the series.
Yeah, and the way Nora reacts to it is like it hasn't happened with her before, because she's very excited after they do it, but she was the first person who ever did it with RWBY in the show, and like both times RWBY did it, it definitely wasn't some like instinctual thing she did without realizing. It was part of like a very specific tactical maneuver to like get one of them to a specific place.
Yeah.
How the fuck would she not know she can do that?
Yeah, because this is the thing. Blake leans in for a sassy moment to say,
I hate the animation on her leaning in. It's like was like a snake, and it's wrong.
It's that cartoon sort of lean in from the side.
But they clearly had to like stretch her model to do it, so she's a snake Blake, like a snake.
Snake faunus. But yeah, and she's like, did Penny realize you could do that before you did? And yeah, and the line back is, she realized you were a faunus before I did.
Which is funny because it's like, but your semblance is a you thing, RWBY. You have more reason to know that than to have known Blake was the thing she was hiding. This line doesn't make sense. This line doesn't actually make sense.
The one thing I will say for this scene is, while Penny's explaining, there's little chibi versions of all of the cast, and the chibi versions have much improved since season 1. These are much better chibis.
Yeah.
That was sort of cute.
But now, so this whole scene with the fucking... Oh, wait, no. Before their cool plan, it's time for this really awkward scene with Ironwood and Watts, which has... I don't think that they intended the energy that this scene has. Because Ironwood comes in as Watts is tippy-tapping on a computer, and he, like, grabs both of his shoulders from behind and, like, kind of squeezes them, and he's like, I'd hate for us to have to try motivating you again. And it's like, you fucking idiot. This isn't a I'm going to have my guards beat you again kind of gesture.
I mean, I guess it kind of is, but it definitely can be read another way.
It's way more sexual feeling than it should be.
I think it's also driven a bit by the way Ironwood's behaving in this scene, where he walks in and straightens his tie and says, "Sorry for the delay. Today's been busy."
I was off with another prisoner, motivating.
Sorry, I just got back from shooting a council member in the face. Remember how he did that? That was his thing.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. These characters don't have to worry about it. But, so yeah, he's like all up on him, and he keeps like just like this is like stop touching Watts, please. This is uncomfortable.
Is this more or less uncomfortable than the Tyrion teabagging scene?
More, because it's like the Tyrion teabagging scene was at least like, okay, this is clearly just bad framing, but like everything about just like the line delivery and the motion and stuff is just like But that's when Watts notices that, hey, Paulantina's here. It's really amazing that you don't fucking have any triggers for that. So he has a wireframe of Penny, but at the end of the episode, he says that he's gonna, or he gives a line implying he's gonna hack her. That makes it sound like he's just presenting this idea for the first time. And at some point here, they talk about like finding a way to defeat her or take her down or something. And so I really think that you're not supposed to think at this moment that obviously he's hacking her.
No, I think you definitely meant to think that he's trying to hack her, but what he was saying in the scene was that it was going to be extremely difficult. Once what happens at the end of the episode happens, this will make it a lot easier for him, I think.
Yeah, but then it's like, why would you have that big dramatic moment to end the episode on where he's like, hey, I'm going to hack her now?
Well, because they're trying to imply that now he actually can do it, and they're just bad writers who don't know how to stage things properly. I think that's part of it too.
Yeah, we can only speculate on the purpose of this scene. So now that uncomfortable scene is over, they do like wee it's lockdown initiated, and they're like, oh fuck, we can't get back out through the tubes. They've closed the tubes, which I do like because that implies that they do know that the tubes are a security concern.
But didn't close them before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the most incompetent security. And remember, Atlas is the place that had its security upgraded. When they said that, did they just mean there weren't any holes in the walls? Is that upgraded security?
I guess. And what's hilarious is, like, then they immediately start talking like they're gonna fucking give up.
Yeah. Well, we can't do it now. And it's like, and then they just do what they were planning to do a minute ago. They just do it. They do the semblance thing. RWBY takes everyone in their semblance.
Well, May's like, hey, I can hijack a plane and get us out of here. That's no problem. And they're like, okay, well, I guess we won't immediately give up then. So it's time for our wacky idea. And now here's a really funny idea that's never been done in RWBY. What if, as a distraction, they made maybe like a drink spilled on them, and then the person was like, I got a drink spilled on me and it's really embarrassing. Wouldn't that be funny and cool?
I actually forgot that they had already done this. There was no comedy fat lady this time.
Yeah, but it's the same fucking... This is how they solve all problems now. We're going to trip someone and make them spill a drink onto someone else.
Yeah. What I love in this... So the idea is that while they're hiding in a bubble, there's a guy walking through with a cup of coffee. They stick a foot out of the bubble, they trip him, the coffee goes flying, and it lands on a guy's crotch. And I think the implication isn't just that he's embarrassed that he's got food on him. I think he's like, his crotch is burning from the hot coffee.
Oh fuck, he can sue Atlas now.
But it's just like the entire control room turns around to look because this other guy is yelling at Bob, who spilt the coffee, because he points to a sign that says you're not supposed to have food and drink in the control room.
I do like the sign. It has a grim shark and it's cute. And I like this guy's line delivery too, because he's like, God, Bob, you're never paying attention. You always come into work late. And I thought that was pretty good.
It wasn't bad, but the thing that gets me about just the blocking of it all is that, so where that happens was roughly where Team RWBY was standing in the bubble. And then they shoot out in the big red thing. So everyone kind of turned...
No. I know why you think that. Only May went into the room. This was a whole thing because while we were watching in the watch party, there's a shot where you see the big invisibility bubble come into the room. And then you suddenly, for just a bit, see Blake looking like she's T-posing in the background. And we were like, ha, they accidentally left a Blake model there. But it's because everyone except May didn't come into the room. Only May came to trip the guy.
Right.
So she just has like an unusually big invisibility bubble. But it still doesn't make any fucking sense what happens because she trips the guy, he spills the thing, everybody looks, and then they turn back to work. And then RWBY and crew just go ahead and fucking bubble in through it. And it's like, the whole tripping part of this was completely irrelevant.
I thought that they, like, where they looked was still closer to the door where they enter.
No, yeah, because everybody was facing away from them and they turned around to face this way.
Yeah, like everyone was sort of looking at everyone had their backs to the door when they faced their computers. And we see at least one person turn back to the face of the thing. But yeah, also, it doesn't distract you from the fact that there is this giant red thing leaving petals everywhere that's sort of roughly in the direction of where everyone's looking, and no one sees it.
No, yeah, again, like, I understand how they thought this was supposed to go in the script, but that is not the way it goes at all, and it just seems like they, for no reason, made people kind of look in their general direction and then maybe look back, and then they just shoot through there.
What I don't get is why didn't they take May with them and make Ruby's semblance invisible, and then May just walks back out again?
Because May said that she's going to go hack the thing.
Yeah, but all May has to do once they've gotten to the other side of the room is turn around and go back. Like, because she's invisible, she can go by herself where she wants.
Maybe you can't combine semblances like that.
No, it's lame. I don't know.
But again, like, also because of the way they block it, they very, very much could have just fucking run through there invisible.
Yeah, the whole thing's just a bit of... I know this is nitpicking, but the whole thing is just a bit of a mess.
No, yeah, again, because of the way it's presented, it doesn't actually make sense at all.
No.
Yeah, and it still relies on them just not noticing that Ruby and crew come through in a giant pedal ball.
Well, it's like a lot of this stealthing and security stuff. It relies on everyone in Atlas being kind of incompetent.
Oh, yeah.
Even when they're doing, like, what should be the right thing, which is having the crew be clever to get around stuff, it's still, like, hopelessly stupid things they're having to work their way around.
Yeah, like, they're using tactics, but the tactics, of course, make no fucking sense.
Well, the tactics only make sense because everyone else is an idiot. And also, like, this is better than Weiss just walking into a room and being handed evidence, but it's not much better.
Yeah. So you mentioned before the podcast that you like this shot where they all come out of Ruby's semblance and they all have like different reactions to it.
Yeah.
Like Penny looks like she just had a great time. She's like, wow, you really did it for the Ruby and that was cool. Nora is excited as if she's never done it before, but she has. I don't think they remember that.
No, they don't. They definitely don't.
Blake hates it. She's having a rough day. She doesn't like all these weird ways of going fast.
No, the first joke she makes is when we first showed the start of the episode, she pops out of the pneumatic tube and says, "Oh, I never want to do that again." And then after this, she goes, "That's another thing I never want to do again." It's like, okay.
And Weiss is smiling because she's like, I remember that I've done this before. Even though I don't think Ruby does.
Penny's pose in particular, because she's kind of like down on one knee and doing jazz hands. I don't know. It was cute. I liked it.
Yeah, if I hadn't been able to check off Vaguely Beatty last episode, I sure would have been able to this episode with how it is by the end.
But also, it's a thing of like, between that and the thing with Ruby thinking that Penny's USB stick was cool, I like their dynamic where they're both just really impressed with each other. Like, they're both just, they think each other are rad.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Yeah, that's why it's a solid ship.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Yeah. Actually, that's something that's worth pointing out about this episode is in what we should dub the Corinth Ruby Penny hug meter. They're up to like 4 or 5 hugs so far this season.
Yeah, they keep having these dramatic ass hugs, and it's like, God, I wonder if something's gonna happen to Penny.
I wonder if Ruby and Penny are going to have to fight, and Ruby's going to have to kill her. I wonder.
Why would you say that?
This is the thing. Like, I would be surprised if they made Penny dead again, because 1, we've already done that, and 2, she's still a robot. I feel like the whole thing they set up with Pietro about how, like, you know, he has to keep slicing off a bit of his soul to keep making her is just going to be, it's going to cost Pietro's life. But, like, why do we care about that? Why do we care about Pietro? This guy we met last season who seems like he's just going to be here so Penny can live.
I care because good, considering what happens in this next scene. Because they go to the vaguely highly classified area. I don't know what this room's supposed to be. It's got a lot of like terminals, but nobody's there. Whatever. And what's great is to get into this room, there's an electrified security door, and Penny uses Pietro's credentials again.
Despite the lockdown, yeah.
Fucking stupid. And then she lets Pietro take her over, and she's like, okay, Dad, I'm ready. And I've said it before, don't combine physically with your father. I keep having to say it. And I'm sorry, Pietro. It's fucking weird. It's fucking weird that you made this little ginger anime girl that you can physically control whenever you wanna. You're nasty. It's nasty.
It's just, I understand that, like, she's a robot, so it's easier for him to do this. But, like, the fact that he takes over her entirely and, like, her eyes change and he's speaking through her, like, he's controlling, it's not just her hands, like, that he's controlling to type. He's, like, or it's not even her just, like, plugging into the computer so he can interface with it back wherever he is. It's that he dominates her body and her movements, and it's like,
Yeah, he can remote control her.
uh,
Yeah, lots of uncomfortable implications there, especially with her being like this very specific look that there isn't really any other justification for other than it's probably his fetish. Also, we missed a line in episode 1 that explains some of the whole deal with the Amity Tower thing, but not well, because right before their call with Ironwood, Maria says over the phone that she and Pietro can go to Amity Tower to prepare. So I think the idea is that her and Pietro, the tower is not finished, but her and Pietro can finish it together.
right.
And Pietro just didn't mention any of that part.
I mean, it's a hand wave. It's still pretty absurd. Like,
Oh yeah, like I want to see them really rolling up their old people's sleeves and fucking finishing this shit.
I like that I've seen some fan headcanon about, oh no, well obviously what they mean is that Amity's only going to be good for going up and sending one message and then they'll have to come back down again.
That's a hilarious fucking mental image to me, and also this episode proves that's not the case. Because this is the thing. So his plan is to go up there with Maria forever?
Like the ending of Grease.
So it seems like it's some kind of old people suicide pact?
Again, like the end of Grease.
I only know there's a flying car. We don't know their ultimate fate.
Well, we don't, but they fly off into the sky in a car and everyone waves. We have to assume they died.
Oh, rest in peace.
So the idea is that they have to go up and do the message, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, like why do they have to be on it?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Someone understands. So this scene that we're about to have with Nora, I do really like. I was talking before about Blake having cute character animation. She's just in a office chair spinning kind of idly, and it's like, oh, that's a cute little bit of bonus. Thank you.
It was, yeah. She's just bored. I don't know what it is. I just, like, suddenly she has some personality this episode. And it's like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it reminds me of the points in Volume 3 where they were like, hey, what if Blake was Moe? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Why not? Now, so this whole scene has a number of... It flows back and forth between kind of funny moments and kind of half-decent moments.
Yeah, it's a real mixed bag.
Yeah, so the opening bit is one of the characters worrying about the others.
Yeah, Nora's all worried. Or no, Blake is worried. And then Weiss is like, oh, sometimes sisters just have different ideas of what's right. And it's like, yeah, sometimes one sister is a fucking fascist and the other sister, has different ideas of what's right.
Yeah, sometimes they have different ideas. Do we know what those ideas are? Not really. There is a sort of funny thing here where Nora is going like, oh, Oscar's really coming to his own and Jorn's, quite strong these days and you ain't going to be able to protect them all from anything that can, harm them. And it's like, we already, I feel like maybe this is deliberate dramatic irony.
Yeah, I couldn't tell how deliberate it was because she said, like, John's a great leader and Oscar has grown a ton and Yang is more than capable of protecting them all in a fight. And it's like, only maybe the Oscar part of that is true. But I feel like it's a weird time to, like, indirectly dunk all of them for sucking.
Yeah. And then the thing is that the other two look at her and go, just sort of silently wait for her to remember that she didn't mention Ren.
Oh, yeah.
The exact line is, oh, and Ren is... I don't know what Ren is. And I just watched that and was like, yeah, same girl.
Girl, same.
I don't know what Ren is. She goes on to say, I feel like I understand him less than ever. I'm like, yeah, same. I just...
What's funny is... So one, yeah, it almost feels like Nora is reacting to, like, writers, they can't decide whether we're dating or not. The framing is very ambiguous. I don't know what to think.
Yeah.
And she says, this is a problem that I think is most common in Kiersey's writing, where people say lines that just don't follow from the previous line at all. Because she says, I feel like I understand him now less now than ever, and I don't know if that's his fault or mine. And Blake is like, when you've been at someone's side for so long, after a while they become a part of you. But that's just it. They're only a part of you. Don't forget about the rest. It's like, Blake, what the fuck are you talking?
You made a little leap there, Blake.
Yeah, she's just like, I don't know what's up with Ren. And Blake is like, Ren is not all of who you are, Nora.
Because that goes on to be the thrust of the rest of this conversation, is that Nora says, we've been together so long, I don't know who I am without Ren around.
Yeah, so it's like Blake looked forward in the script and realized that Nora was going to bring it up next.
I can't get past the fact that they, like you say, almost openly acknowledging that no one really gets what the fuck's up with Ren these last 2 seasons.
Yeah. Oh, because I realize what Ren is doing is he's doing that fucking young teen thing where, like, you're really mad, but nobody will ask you why you're mad. So you just keep, like, walking around like, kick something. But just everybody refuses to ask him what the fuck his problem is. And that's been his whole problem this last season, is no one will just ask him what his deal is.
So it keeps getting more and more outrageous, where he's not just being angry, he's like celebrating fascism, or he's having a cry. Like he's just spinning more and more wildly out of control.
He's like, what's it gonna take to get your attention?
I feel like at some point in this season, he's just so broken at this point that I half expect him to just like glitch into a wall and just stick there T-posing. And everyone will just sort of go, oh, he's dead.
I just don't know what's up with him lately.
Yeah, like it's like he's actually failing. Something's gone really wrong. But also, the idea that, Nora's saying, I don't know who I am without Ren. On the one hand, I'm like, this is a direction for the character. I don't think it's super interesting, to be honest. I just, like, that's just me. But also, like, I think it's also true, but not because that's the way the character is. I think that's true because we haven't really ever established much about Ren and Nora. Beyond comforting Jorn of Apira's death, they haven't been characters. And now we're into like a season and a half almost of focusing on them.
Look, they're no more or less deep than fucking RWBY or anything, to be fair. They have the same level of depth as all of these girls, which is fucking nothing.
Yeah, I guess, but like...
Because she's like, what can I even do? Be strong and hit stuff? And I'm like, yeah, that's your character. I liked it. It's good. Fucking do that. And then she does, and then it's good. So fucking, I don't understand this. She actually understood completely who she was.
I just feel like I don't disagree that she's no more or less shallow than the main four, but the thing is, the main four are the main four. If you were going to spend some time fleshing out these characters, why would you pick Ren and Nora?
Because they've said repeatedly they regret naming the show RWBY because they think of J and R as just as much main characters.
It just feels weird to me that, like, we're in the middle of Atlas, Atlas, the place where someone's sister is and where someone grew up. And there's one character here who is super, like, sort of, connected to everything that's happening. And she's currently comforting Nora, who's this other fucking... This just seems like the wrong character. This seems like the wrong character to be focusing on.
Yeah, it's a very arbitrary time to do Ren-Nora drama, and also who gives a fuck.
That too. Well, yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah. What's funny is, like, she's like, what do I do? Be strong and hit things? And the other girls look like, aww. And I'm like, fucking, yeah, those are good things that she does. Why is nobody enthusiastic about this? That's all Yang has.
Yeah.
So Pietro and Maria, that's when they talk about how they're going to go up on the satellite. And so they want Penny to come with them now is the thing, so that she can be out of Salem's reach, quote unquote. And it's so weird because she's like, oh no, I guess I have to go live with them forever again. I don't understand.
Yeah, like how indefinite is this plan? And also, I guess that implies that the people on this side think that going to a high altitude is a way to escape Salem.
Yeah. Yeah, they say far out of Salem's reach. And it's like, Penny can fly.
Yeah. Everyone agrees. Like, they all agree that, that's right. Like, RWBY and that agree. Yeah, this is probably for the best, even though that makes them sad. Which is odd, because in the next scene, they go to leave, and who's at the door? It's the fucking Aesops.
Yeah.
Now, bear in mind, these are the characters who just saw Ironwood shoot a civilian in the face because he asked him what he was up to.
Yeah, and they keep doing the thing with Marrow this scene where he's like, oh, I don't know, I have mixed feelings. Maybe at some point I'll defect or something. And I'm like, eat shit, dog boy. And also, this entire scene, every moment they spend talking, I'm like, you stay, use your stupid ass semblance. If you're here to fucking stop them, use your semblance. Fucking use it. He doesn't. It's so fucking stupid.
Like I said before, a lot of the things in this have been nitpicks, but this is, like it was in the last season, this continues to be the biggest issue with any scene with Marrow. This is the biggest plot hole in the whole episode.
Yeah, it's really funny because he's like, we held back last time. And it's like, yeah, you did. Fucking use your semblance on them right now and then you win, you dumbass bee.
Yeah. Why do they don't think that they don't need to explain why he doesn't use his semblance straight away all the time? Like, why do they think we won't think of that? Like, that it doesn't occur to us that he has a semblance that can make a person stop in their tracks.
Yeah, and he does use it at the very end of all this stuff that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And why didn't he do it before?
The fact that you actually use it to end the fight, so everyone knows, he could have done that the whole time.
Yeah, I feel like at least they could make it like he's really uncomfortable with using it or something. You know, like he feels like it's a weird violation. But again, that's something you'd actually have to put in the show. As is, he just doesn't do it for no reason.
Yeah, or like it's tricky to do. We need someone to hold still for a bit, or I don't know. Now, what I wanted to talk about this was that we have a quick conversation between the Aesops and Team RWBY. And again, these are the people who just witnessed Ironwood shooting someone in the face. And they're still on Ironwood's side, which makes them completely unsympathetic in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still thinking about whether or not this is meant to be like isn't it terrible that we just can't agree on what the right thing to do is?
Sometimes sisters have different ideas of the right things to do.
So Vine starts by saying to Penny, I know you thought you were doing the right thing, leaving with the maiden power, but Salem is here now. Not doing anything, but she's here now, so I guess it's more urgent. Penny responds, if he's leaving Mantle behind, nothing has changed, to which Vine responds, you were supposed to protect the people. Now, what was Penny's official title?
No, he says you were supposed to protect the people, not hurt them, because they think that she's hurting people by whatever. It's bad. It's bad dialogue. It's real bad dialogue.
She was the protector of Mantle. That's what that reminds you of. Like, of course she's not going to be okay with leaving Mantle behind. This isn't the correct back and forth argument.
Also, I know that in universe, apparently nobody thinks it's a stupid idea to go live in space, but it's still really funny to me the idea that the conflict is like, hey, you can't leave these people behind, that you have to bring them all to come live in space, which is awesome and everybody wants to do. Why you can't? You gotta let everybody live in space with you.
I also like how I fucking know. Penny mentions that I wouldn't hurt anyone. And then fucking Harriet says, well, Winter's in a critical condition because of you. What do you mean because of Penny? How is Penny responsible for that?
This is great, because they say that Penny took the maiden powers.
She stole them, yeah.
Like, the blocking of the end of the last season did make it seem like she was making a conscious choice to take the maiden powers instead of help Winter, but I didn't think that was, like, purposefully canonical. So now I'm like, is this canon that she was like, no, I want those fucking powers, fuck you, Winter?
Well, she goes to say something about how that was the only way to stop Cinder, which kind of seemed true at the time because Winter was almost dead. Winter was having the shit beaten out of her, was nowhere near the dying Winter Maiden, couldn't get in the big tube. That's just the case. Penny was the only one who could take them.
I mean, Penny could have just fucking kicked Cinder's ass also, because Cinder sucks.
Well, yeah, accidental canon, yes, she probably could have, but I guess we get it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, then they go on to say, like, everyone will die unless we go to space. Mara says, you could stop all of this. Just hand over the relic and you can save Atlas.
That's a really funny way to phrase it, hand over the relic. It's not, she doesn't have it. You need to, like, go get it, whatever. But then what's funny is that RWBY says, but it won't save Atlas. Salem will find her way to the relic no matter where you go. And it's like... Yes, exactly. none of you can't just say that now. I mean, yes, correct.
Yes,
but because of that, none of this makes any fucking sense.
Yeah. Like, RWBY is finally right about this. But then why would sending Penny into space with Amity Arena keep her safe from Salem if Salem can get to the relic anywhere, which includes in space, which means this plan doesn't make sense? And why isn't anyone talking about the fact that the plan doesn't make sense?
Yeah, it's so stupid. And also, Penny can fly. Like, it's like, oh no, she has to go there and then we'll never see her again, I guess. She can fly! Much like Salem probably can do because she has all magic. This is also fucking stupid.
Even if the Aesops did believe in the crazy man's plan for whatever reason. Just the fact that Team RWBY, specifically RWBY, seems to think it's also a viable plan. She just doesn't want to leave the mantle people behind. Even though now she points out that the plan is stupid. Even I don't think they were intending for it to come across that way, but that's what she does.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Oh, anyway.
No, wait. But there's one more line because Harriet says, one more word and I'm throwing you in jail right next to your uncle, Runt. And RWBY doesn't react at all to... She acts as if she already knew that Crow was in their custody in jail, but she didn't. They have no idea where Crow is, so she doesn't react to this information at all, and they don't even consider trying to go help him out, so she apparently just doesn't give a fuck about Crow.
That's right, they just leave without doing anything about that.
Yeah, she's just like, in response. I think that Kiersey didn't know that they weren't supposed to know where Crow was.
Yeah, because I guess they sort of had an opportunity to think about maybe they could go and help Crow. But they don't even talk about it.
Like, Harriet says, I'll throw you in jail, and she points, like your uncle, he's right over there, by the way, the uncle you weren't sure if he was dead, and Ruby's just like, bitch.
Yeah, well, because before she can say anything, Penny does a defensive sort of, don't hurt RWBY, and then this is how she gets separated from the rest of the team.
Yeah, so Penny makes the door close behind her to shut them off, the zappy door.
Did Penny do that, or was that Ironwood? I thought that was Ironwood.
She did it. She wanted to protect them. Hey, yo, Future Cube here, one more time. So we were both wrong. It wasn't Ironwood and it wasn't Penny, it was Harriet. She had like a garage door closer. I completely missed it because Penny did that motion like she wanted to fight them alone, so I just thought that she was fighting them alone on purpose. But she did want to fight them alone, seemingly, but also they trapped her apart from Team RWBY. Okay, bye.
Yeah, so this is the big fight scene of this episode. It takes up about half the runtime, I think.
Yeah.
It had the potential to be cool. I mean, Penny versus the Aesops, sure. But it's just sort of, I don't know.
It makes me really sad because, like, I spent a lot of time going through the different shots and the different animations, and there's a lot of, like, I can see why they thought the shots worked. Like, there's cool motions in there, there's cool ideas in there, but again, just because of like the blocking and the timing and everything, you don't get to appreciate any of it, and it actually like makes me sad because I would pause and be like, oh, that's actually a cool pose that she did, but you can't see it.
There's a lot of getting in really tight on people so you can't see the full motion of what's going on.
Yes, they never zoom the fuck out.
Yeah, and also like I got the impression that there was a bunch of cool maneuvering going on, but you can't see it. You don't get a sense of where everyone is half the time.
Yeah, when you pause it, it's like, oh, she did this combo maneuver, that's cool. Glad I had to see it by pausing.
I'll just never not be frustrated by the, are penny swords attached by strings or aren't they thing. It's really annoying.
Yeah, especially because it becomes relevant in scenes like this arbitrarily, but then like from shot to shot, it's very clear they literally are not.
Well, there's just like the way they move half the time, there's no way they could be attached because they would just be constantly getting tangled.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah, it makes Penny, who should be cool, kind of frustrating.
Yeah, it's like I wouldn't be so bothered by it if it didn't, like that ends up being how she gets killed in Volume 3, and it ends up being an important thing at the end of this scene. So, like, it's not just like, oh, it doesn't matter whether they're attached by strings or not, because that's not what's important. They make it important.
Yeah, you've made it a critical part of how she works.
But anyways, she makes a big wind blow to kind of blow him back, so that's her maiden thing. I do like that she's already way better than Cinder at using her maiden powers. You fucking suck so much, Cinder.
Yeah, she makes hail fall at one point to make the ground skittish.
The hail is stupid. It didn't seem to do anything.
Yeah, but at least it was an idea.
It just seems like you've been playing Pokemon some more. Penny used hail. It's now hailing. Ice attacks are now do 25% more damage. At one point, when Marrow first goes to attack her, like when I was pausing to look at the motions, he's like doing a big smile, and I'm like, why the fuck are you smiling, Marrow? What?
Yeah, you're meant to be conflicted this whole time.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the fight goes on for a while. It's a good 5-6 minutes long.
I don't think it's that long. This whole episode's only like 15 minutes.
No, okay. So how does it end? What happens?
This Elm grabs her from behind.
But how is Elm able to grab her from behind?
This is before Marrow uses stay.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
Well, first, before that happens, there's an awesome shot of the 4 other girls that are stuck just standing there while Weiss's useless ass summon attacks the Zappy door. And it's just really funny seeing them just like stand still, not even fucking trying anything, and just being like, your knight can't do it. I don't know. I give up then.
Even they don't have any faith that Penny can beat them. Because when Weiss is the thing about 1 against 4, and Ruby's like, oh, she'll be able to hold them off for a bit.
Also, hey, if only one of you had a power that apparently deconstructs you on a molecular level, that would be useful in a situation like this.
It's also just like, are maiden powers meant to be overpowering or not? Are they meant to be so super scary and awesome or not?
Who fucking knows?
It's like, is a maiden able to take on 4 trained soldiers or not?
It's like, I would think default Penny could kick all their asses.
I would have thought so too. Yeah.
But yes, so then the battle pauses because Elm grabs Penny from behind and they're all like, yeah, we got her. And Penny's like, oh no. And then she's like, wait, I'm still magical. And then she does like a big magic burst. And I'm like, yeah, you're still magical. I don't know why grabbing you from behind would make you no longer be able to do magic. What the fuck was the idea there?
Yeah. Okay, so what actually stops her doing magic?
So there's a very funny shot where Marrow throws his boomerang and just smacks Penny right off the ledge, and then she comes up and she's like, I'm gonna zap you guys with my lasers. I'm finally gonna use my lasers. And then he uses stay, and then she's frozen in place because that's what his fucking semblance does, and it's so fucking goddamn stupid.
Yeah, and then Vine just grabs her and they're putting handcuffs on her.
That aspect is super fucking funny to me. I like the idea that they're handcuffing Penny. She's a magical flying robot. Why do you think handcuffing her is gonna be sufficient?
I just can't get over that they actually use stay to stop the fight.
It's real bad. There's literally, they don't even try to give an excuse.
No. They just wanted the fight to stop now. And it's so fucking annoying. It's the most annoying part of this episode. It's just that they don't ever try to even make an excuse for why he didn't use that before.
Yeah. And again, I know a lot of the stuff that we say is nitpicks. This isn't nitpicks. Like, it's literally, it's his one thing he do, and he just doesn't do it until he does, and then you win the fight.
Yeah. Of course, he doesn't win the fight, actually, because when they first walked into this room that had the big electric door, we saw Nora take note of the electric door.
Yeah, and she's like, hey.
And so she's looking, as they're trying to break through the door, she goes, just be strong and hit stuff, eh? And so she absorbs the electricity out of the door and uses it to smash the door down. And I actually quite liked this sequence. I thought this was kind of a cool moment for her.
I liked it except for the stupid hair.
I kind of like the hair too.
No.
As she absorbs all the electricity, her hair stands up on end, and she's covered in like these big electric lines. And see, okay, this is the difference between her and Marrow's power, right? There was a little bit sort of like she waited until the dramatic moment to do it, but at least like after she does this, she's suddenly covered in like quite serious scars and passes out and is in a really bad state. So at least like her doing this cost something.
Yeah, you get the idea that she kind of knew that it was like too much for her to absorb or something.
Yeah.
So it was a dangerous thing. Yeah, her hair, I don't like that it goes like Super Saiyan, like straight. I think it looks kind of dumb. I think it could have looked cooler if it like spiked up or something, some other thing. But I like that there's a really funny shot of Weiss going, Nora, wait! And it does like a crash zoom on her, but she doesn't like move at all to stop her. She's just like, wait, Nora! And I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, there's a lot of blocking so far this season where it's just sort of,
Yeah, but there's a good shot of Nora when she's about to hit the thing where like her hammer is in the foreground, and that's a nice angle. That was pretty anime.
Yeah. It's just like they had a moment earlier in the episode when Nora's sort of wondering what am I good for, and then she figures out something she's good for and does a cool thing. And I was like, yeah, that's good. That's good.
It is funny that it's like she had her entire character arc in a single episode. Ren,
Well, yeah.
be like Nora.
Yeah, Ren, stop spacing it out. So yeah, she passes out, but now everyone's here, and it was funny because like I guess there is a camera somewhere because Ironwood was watching this and he goes, "Oh, that was our chance!" And then Watts has a suggestion. So the Aesops, they go to fight again, and then one of them grabs one of Penny's swords and snaps it off her, and they just get away with that. So we'll just to jump forward for a second. At the end, this is how Watts thinks he's going to be able to hack Penny now, is that because he has this sword, which makes me think. That the sword has some way of wirelessly connecting to Penny.
I think it's that he's gonna fucking like upload a Trojan into it, and then she's gonna get it back at some point and reconnect it to herself and be like, "Oh no, it had the hacking program." Beep boop beep boop beep boop beep boop. That's what I think is gonna happen. Because it's so fucking stupid. Because like this episode establishes that Penny has systems in place for remote controlling her via the fucking internet. So I think Watts isn't actually a very good hacker. It's so fucking silly. It's incredibly silly. Also, when you see Harriet snap the string off of her, the shot is that you see her like open backpack zone, and there's just a straight flat model with a single string coming out of it. Like they don't even try to make it look like there's anything in there that a bunch of strings could be coming out of. There's no time.
Or space for where all those other swords go when they're not outside of her, or all the other strings that should be coming out because all the swords are out.
Yeah, it looks very unfinished.
Guys, come on.
Oh, also, I love that there's like a little action sequence there, and Vine slaps Ruby, Blake, and Weiss off the bridge with his big vine arm. And they have this moment where Ruby is like holding on to the bridge with her scythe, and the other two are hanging off her. And I'm like, you all have fucking ways to get up from something like this. What are you doing?
Yeah. Ruby in particular, like, doesn't she then use a semblance to get them all back up on the top?
Yeah, Weiss and Blake let go, and they're just like, guess we'll fucking die then. And then Ruby catches them and with her syllabus. Like, they both have ways that they've used in the show to fucking get up from stuff like this. It's so silly. And also, Marrow has to dodge Vine's arm, but he's like running at them and it's coming from behind him, so his model just kind of falls back, and it's really funny. But yeah, they get the sword and they leave. Oh, but Marrow kind of does like a sad look back at them, like, maybe I'm gonna turn at some point.
But I'm not convinced yet.
Yeah, it's ass. And they're like, that was very suspicious. So at least, of course, they realize that was suspicious, that they just took her sword and left. I mean, not enough to, I don't think they're gonna realize what's going on, but at least they realize something's going on.
I love that you, because I didn't pick up on it, but I love that you pointed out that, yeah, they should know the Crow is nearby somewhere in a prison cell, and they don't even talk about it.
It's really funny, right? It's just like the most casually dropped information that should be super fucking important to her, and she does not care.
Because what they do now is go to the hangar and leave.
Yeah, Penny carries Nora.
The fact that they got this deep into the place using May's semblance, they don't manage to get out of the place, like, being visible. No one stops them. No one else, like, tries to get in their way.
Mm-hmm.
The way they leave, it kind of makes it look like they blew a door open to be able to get out, because there's like a little explosion coming off of Atlas.
Yeah, Penny does the eyes first, so she blew him out somehow.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, the Crow, fuck you, we don't give a fuck.
There's another hug, and she's off to live in the sky forever with two old people.
Yeah, she's like, it's time for me to go, I guess. And she salutes them, and I guess, yeah, she's gonna fucking go hang out in space with the corpse of Maria and Pietro, I guess, is the idea.
Interesting direction to take.
It's such a weird thing to suddenly...
Even though Salem can get to them anywhere, she can get her way to the relic, and no matter where you run to, which makes me wonder why you think we should run anywhere, and fucking, yeah. Anyway, that's the episode.
Like, they suddenly start acting like, oh, maybe she'll never see him again. It's like, yeah, I'm sure we all buy that. It's not like she's gonna get fucking hacked, as Watts says. So yeah, that's the scene that it ends on, is they bring the sword to Watts, and he's like they say, if you can't beat them, then make them join you. And it's very like, dun dun dun, and it's like, again, I can't fucking believe it. Are you implying that maybe Watts is gonna hack Penny after? I don't know what you're talking about.
I am curious as to how exactly the sword's going to help.
I'm telling you, that Trojan program in the sword. Trojan program in the sword.
The idea that Penny would just quite happily take it and plug it back in.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, maybe they'll shoot it at her and it'll stab her, and that's how they get the program in. Or
I guess maybe the idea will also be that like the sword has some programming in it that they need to learn how to access her, but even that's very silly logically.
It is, yeah, but I that's what I assumed, is that like this gives us a little more access to her. But that's why I thought it was funny, the idea that like this sword would give them wireless access.
Yeah. Oh, and also when they pluck the sword off, she reacts as if it hurt, which is kind of strange. And I'm like, is some of her soul in that sword? Because, like, is some of your aura in your whole body? Is that why when Pietro remakes just like her limbs, he has to use more of his soul? This is an interesting systems. It's very mysterious.
Anyway, that's strings.
I'm looking back at my penny bingo. I feel like I can safely check off gives up lasers for inferior maiden magic attacks with her hail shit.
Yeah. She uses hail, wind, cold wind.
Yeah, it's much better than lasers. Oh, I can check off swords continue to be on wires only sometimes. Excellent.
Are you anywhere near a bingo yet?
Nah, because those are kind of off in a different area. But, I mean, gets hacked is right here. I'm just going to go ahead and, like, tentatively check off gets hacked, you know? I feel pretty safe calling that one. Yeah, so if they do something that references Disney-only Pinocchio thing, we're good. And actually, was the whale called Monstro in the book?
I have no idea. I've never read the original.
Because if not, I might actually have that one. Wait, I'm going to say, was Monstro in the book?
Using Google like your grandma.
The terrible dogfish. Is a dogfish like sea monster? Yes! Okay, so that means that the whale named Monstra is a Disney-only Pinocchio reference. So I am fucking bingoed, assuming that she gets hacked, you know, which, I mean, who can say? Who can say?
Wow. We're only 3 episodes in and you're pretty much there.
Yeah, so this row altogether is weird robot logic, gives up on lasers for inferior maiden magic, references Disney only Pinocchio thing, and gets hacked. Pew, 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 pew. I'm doing a little dance.
It's just not good. It's not a good show. And like obviously we know that, but it's just even the glimmers of like, well, that was halfway good. It's like it's just this is the sort of good that you would expect from a halfway decent kid show. And they only manage to hit that sometimes, and the rest of the time it's all just plot holes and annoying bullshit.
Yeah, like, I feel like this episode depressed me more than the other two, because it was, like, a little more, almost more cohesive, and almost more like an actual believable episode of something, and there was, like, a few little good things in there, but then it's still just a mess.
It's just, well, because it's the thing, it's still just a nothing mess. Just talking Rooster Teeth for a second here. Should you mention that we discovered there is actually a Genlock young adult novel out there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so they've produced a Genlock young adult novel in which Cammy is sort of more the main character. And the woman who wrote this is also one of the writers for season 2.
Oh, yeah. Season 2 has like a bunch of writers, and I don't even know how much Rooster Teeth is involved. And it's for HBO Max, and it's a whole thing. And who knows, it might become a more boringly competent show.
It does seem like HBO Max have basically just taken the entire thing away from Rooster Teeth for the most part. There's not a lot of Rooster Teeth left here.
Yeah, Gray doesn't seem to be involved at all. So, and it's really funny because it's like, is it worth it just for the IP? I don't know about that.
I mean, I guess you don't have to do any work setting up a Bible or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there's already assets involved if you're doing it in 3D still.
Yeah, and we've talked about before, looking back at Genlock, it still looks way more professional than RWBY, and I'm like...
Oh, fuck yeah.
Was he just willing to put so many more resources into it, or is it just like a base stylistic problem, or why does it look so much better than RWBY?
I think it's definitely like RWBY is still running on this absurd pipeline that's kind of based on using Maya to replicate a look in Poser, which was not a piece of animation software.
Yeah, and maybe like the style was a bit more what their modelers and stuff actually knew how to do.
Yeah, they're not like... they're not still trying to replicate the look that a dude came up with in his bedroom.
You can't even say that, because if they were looking back at those poser models, the girls' anime faces would be much more reasonably shaped. Also, fucking, like, especially May this episode, there's a lot of shots where her face looks fucking weird as hell. Like you've talked about the characters' faces looking like they're drawn onto a balloon. Hers is especially bad in that way. Anyways, well, I guess next episode we'll probably catch up with Oscar and crew. I was realizing he's probably not actually gonna get to Salem, because that would be too interesting. They're gonna like have some dumb motorcycle fight and they're gonna get him back, but then it's like, oh, he has the goop that fell on him, which we didn't talk about. There was a really weird shot of like goop falling on his face. Maybe that will like possess him or something.
Yeah, Salem will be able to get into his head. Like, maybe that's all she actually needed, was just, like, to taint him slightly so she could, like, fight him in his head so he would tell her how to...
He's got the taint.
What what the password was?
Yeah, so I bet that'll happen because that would be lamer.
Imagine if somehow she managed to, like, suck Ozpin out of him so that, like, she could torture the entity that is Ozpin for the information, and they were like, we've got to go get Ozpin back and put him back in Oscar. And then Oscar's just sitting there like, I guess.
Yeah, I was thinking I could imagine a scenario where she's like, Oscar, join me and I will help get Ozpin out of your balls. And we're supposed to be like, no, Oscar, don't do it. But obviously we would be like, yes, Oscar, join Mommy Salami, be her new dark son. You can be the Dark Prince.
Doesn't even have to be like Dark Sun. It can just be like, yeah, if you can just take him out of me, I'll leave.
Yeah, we cool? We cool. Okay, bye.
We cool.
No, but adopt Oscar. Get him away from these fucking people. All right.
All right. We'll see you guys next week, I guess.
Oh, wait. We gotta end with another reading.
Oh, yes.
Okay. This is Fox's landing sequence. Don't worry. It's not like Coco's.
Oh, God. Thank God.
He figured this whole wild initiation thing must be some kind of ill-conceived hazing for first years. They couldn't really assign students to each other so randomly. That would be almost as bad as how nomadic tribes and settlements form back home. That was probably something the professor said to make the exercise more interesting, and Fox was 100% sure Ozpin wouldn't actually put students' lives in jeopardy on their first outing without any adult supervision. Not that Fox needed the help, of course, but still, Fox hadn't even signed any kind of liability waiver. Fox wondered what Ozpin had been thinking when he decided to throw a blind boy off a cliff. He thought it seemed a tad irresponsible, but then again, Ozpin also seemed like someone who appreciated a good joke. And that's all this was, a joke. For his part, Fox liked practical jokes too, especially when he was the prankster. But on the off chance that some or all of the scenario was exactly as advertised, it was time to get serious. I just like them fucking pointing out that, yeah, is Ozpin, he's bad. He sucks.
He's a dick, yeah.
There's no excuse for any of this. Oh yeah, it does seem stupid to completely randomly assign teams. You are correct, Fox.
Yeah, the whole thing, it was always dumb.
It's fucking dumb. Also, I like that this book makes Fox like a fucking prick. He's like a weird nerd, and that is not what I expected when I saw that wide-eyed red boy in Volume 2. Because like he can speak psychically to them, and when they first get teamed up, it's like, this is going to be fun, Fox sent to his new teammates for the first time. Fox smiled and winked. Yeah, that's a thing I can do. I was like, this is not the characterization I expected for this guy.
Yeah, that's something, and when like an unexpected characterization is better than, well, none, I guess.
Yeah, I guess they had to figure out some kind of character for him.
Yeah. All right, well, until next week, happily ever, never after again, everyone.
Someday I'm going to make you watch that fucking opening.
Never. Never.
Never after again?
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Bye.